Welcome everyone back to the channel. My name is Paul. I'm a grateful recovered addict. I live in Peterhead in Scotland, and I'm really pleased to have been joined today by Emma.
Hi, Paul. Thank you for having me. Thank you for asking me to do this. Emma, very grateful recovered addict from Basingstoke.
Really pleased you're here, Emma, and thanks for coming with us to share your experience, strength and hope on today's broadcast. Anyone that's new to the channel, we now have about 3 dozen broadcasts on here. We've got one on each of the 12 steps of C.A. There's actually 2 on step 1 and 2 on step 2. There is one that's an introduction to Cocaine Anonymous, the program, the steps and the fellowship. There's one on an entire psychic change, another, the ABCs of addiction. There's about 7 or 8 personal stories. So please check out the other recordings. Reach out in the conversation, whether you see this on Skype or in the rooms or WhatsApp or indeed YouTube. Please reach out in the conversation if you want help. We will get to you, we will respond. If you have any questions or anything you want to add to conversation, or indeed anything you'd like to see on these podcasts discussed, do reach out to us and get involved. There'll be information about meetings and how to access CA Zoom meetings putting up on the screen. Bear in mind you can pause and rewind this at any time. Feel free to distribute it to whosoever. We want as many people to hear the message of hope, faith and courage and freedom from active addiction. So without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to turn the floor over to you, Emma.
Hi, thank you, Paul. I'm just going to share a little bit today about my personal story. I'll tell you a bit about how it was, how it started, how it was, and then how it is now. For me, my story started when I was born, really. I was born an addict. You hear many people say that, but I was actually born an addict. My mum and dad were drug users. So I was born addicted to drugs, had to go through withdrawal and stuff when I was a baby. And then very early on in my childhood, it was quite apparent that there was something not quite right with my way of thinking. It always had to be Emma's way. And then quickly on, when I was young, I started stealing my mum and dad's puff and taking it to school, giving it away to my friends, selling it. I quickly got kicked out of school in the first year of secondary school for that. Just was really rebellious, getting in with the wrong stuff all the time, and doing stuff to extreme. I'm not one of these people that can do it normally. If I do something, I do it to extreme. When I was 13, drinking to extreme, getting in trouble with the police. My very first drink, I went and bought a litre bottle of vodka instead, and had to have it to myself, obviously, because it was me. Ended up giving myself alcohol poisoning, ended up in hospital, and that still didn't stop me. And then went on to mushrooms, acid, speed, ease, and it just progressed slowly over time. And you know, it wasn't all awful in the beginning, because if it was, maybe we wouldn't have done it again. But then I don't know, in my case I probably would have, because I gave myself alcohol poisoning and still done that again. But you know, back in the days it was quite fun going to raves and doing ease and being in the party scene. And then I had a little boy who died when I was 17, and started drinking really heavily, waking up in parks and on the cliff tops, waking up in my own vomit. I could have easily died. That I didn't stop. And then I got involved with some people, and I'd seen addiction all my life, what it done to my parents, and it didn't stop me. Got involved with some people, that had some heroin. And my brain turned around and said, oh, you know what? That would be a really good idea. Why don't we try some of that? And it was great at first, it took all my problems away, all the feelings and hurt I had and resentments towards hospitals and everything else. Kind of disappeared for a little while. And then I then realised a few months down the line that I had a problem, and thought to myself, it's not me, it's where I am. I'll go away. I went to Lanzarote, I got myself clean, I came back. And the first day I was back, I came home and I'd been burgled and everything else. And then my brain said to me, well, you know what would be a good idea? We'll go and score. So off I went again on this madness. Got really bad. And then I thought it'd be a really good idea. It wasn't me again, it was the area. So I left, I went back to London because I was living in Kent at the time. Went and got a job, got myself clean, went and got a job in the city, was doing really well. But I just couldn't stop myself. There was no stopping me. Do you know what I mean? I would go to work and then I would leave on my lunch hour and go and score and be sitting in work doing gear in the toilets, like on my lunch hour. There was just no, there was no stopping me. And then I got involved with crack and wow, if my life just spiraled well out of control. It was just nothing. Nothing on no one mattered to me. I had some children that were removed from my care. It didn't stop me. Nothing stopped me. I was a really, really horrible person, and there was major consequences there. And I just couldn't stop. I didn't know what was wrong with me. People would say to me, what's wrong with you? Why don't you just quit? Go into rehab. I've done all that. I went to rehab. I was just a mess. I even put myself in prison. I was in and out of prison anyway, but there was a couple of times when I actually refused bail myself because I just couldn't take any more. I just wanted to stop and I just couldn't. I could not stop for nothing. It just didn't matter. And it got to a point where this went on for years and years and years. And then about 10 years ago, I got to a point and I just had enough. I just could not take anymore. I just wanted to die. I'd already tried committing suicide years before that and nearly succeeded. And this time every thought in my head just wanted to end my life. I'd be driving along and I'd just think of driving into something, crashing the car, anything. I just wanted an end to it. I couldn't take any more. And then I decided I was going to get clean on my own will, Emma's way of doing it. And I done that. And I was absolutely crazy. I'd done nearly 10 years and I was nuts. I was angry all the time. I'd get in arguments. I thought I could still drink because my problem was with drugs. I didn't have a problem with drink. I was all right, even though every time I drank till I passed out, or until I woke up in my own vomit, or until I wet myself. Do you know what I mean? But it was okay because I didn't have a problem with drink. Drugs was my problem. So, and I didn't drink every day, so therefore I wasn't an alcoholic. I was okay. And this went on, and I was in quite a severe domestic violence relationship for them 10 years, and I had 3 more children. But because I was clean, wasn't taking drugs, I kept my children. But like I said, I kept on drinking, but I was okay because I was getting up and I was a functioning addict. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't drink every day, but I would drink. When I did drink, I would get in trouble, and the dots still didn't connect. And then 2 years ago, everything broke down. I come out of that relationship and I just felt so crushed that I picked up again because I didn't have a program. I didn't know what was wrong with me. My brain told me, the lie told me, oh, it's okay, you've been clean for this amount of time. You can do it just once. It'll be all right. It'll take the pain away for a little while. And very quickly, my life became unmanageable, really unmanageable. I mean, it was bad before, but before I knew it, I had a habit again. But I now had 3 children. Social services got involved with my life. I stopped using again, but then tried to fix myself with something else, where another domestic violence relationship came into the picture. Tried to fix myself with another relationship, tried to make things better that way, because that's what we do as addicts. We're trying to fix ourselves. That's the problem. We're trying to fix ourselves with something. Do you know what I mean? If it's not drugs, if it's not drink, it's men, it's gambling, it's shopping. There is always something that we're trying to put inside ourselves because we're trying to fill what I call a God-shaped hole in within us. And I very quickly got out of that relationship and went into a refuge and had my children with me. But I was clean again, so I was all right. And, you know, I'm all right. I'm not taking drugs again, but I can still drink. Even though now the drinking was getting to a point, I'd been arrested a couple of times because I'm just not a nice person when I drink. I wake up in the morning, people don't speak to me because I've told them all about themselves and just been really horrible. So I went through all this, and then I hit the refuge on a Friday. By the Sunday, literally 2 days, I was waking up in a police cell. I'd lost my home because of the refuge. I was in a refuge. I'd now lost my children because I got caught drink driving with my children in the car. And I was broken. I was an absolute mess. And this was in March of last year. And it was a real knife's edge for me. It was either, you know, sort myself out or take the really dark road. And I didn't have it in me to go back down that road. I knew that I wouldn't come back from it. I knew that I would die. And luckily there was someone around at the time, and they very gently 12-stepped me and introduced me to this program. I'd never heard of AA or CA, or I'd never done the program. I had no knowledge of it. All these years of using active addiction and being a dry drunk and everything else, I never knew about the programs. And I'm so grateful for that person, because I got myself a sponsor. Things didn't work out with the first sponsor. It was nothing wrong with my sponsor. She was lovely, but there was just not enough time. The work wasn't going on quick enough for me. I needed to do it rapidly. The sponsor I've got now, she took me through the work rapid and thorough. Do you know what I mean? I had to admit to myself that I had a real problem, and that was really hard. And it was really hard to get a connection to a higher power as well. For me, that didn't happen instantly. I knew I had a problem, but I didn't connect to a higher power. But I was desperate. I was desperate enough to try anything. I was hanging on by my fingertips. And my sponsor said to me, have you had enough? And are you willing to go to any lengths? And I was like, absolutely, I'm done. Do you know what I mean? I can't take no more. I need to do something. I'm going to die. Do you know what I mean? I can't, my life was just such a mess. And she got me through the steps really quickly, and she really thoroughly. Do you know what I mean? I had to get really completely honest about everything, which was really hard. And I remember doing my step 4, and I was absolutely in bits. Do you know what I mean? It was just horrible. And then when it came to my step, it was my step 7 that I had a spiritual awakening. And then when it come to my step 8 letters, oh my God, I was on my hands and knees praying to God. When I was doing them letters, I was absolutely in bits. I was bawling, but I cannot tell you the freedom that come out of that, the freedom that come out of my step 4, my step 8, and my step 9. And just to show you how strong this stuff is, when I done my step 8 letters, some of it was around my mum and dad. And, you know, even though they was in my resentments as well, my step 4, they was also in my step 8 letters of how badly I turned out, because that's one of the things you need to really look at yourself and check your behaviours and stuff. And when I went to do my step 9, I done, because my mum and dad have passed on, I done a step 9 back at their house. And I was there around the back and I was having a pray up and I had a little cry and stuff. And it was really strange. I'll tell you something funny. But when I was around the back having a pray, I was on the back wall and I was praying, and I turned around and there was a police officer moving towards me. And the first instinct I wanted to do was say, it wasn't me, I didn't do nothing. But luckily they were looking for somebody else. But this fear come over me of like, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done in the past that has not caught up with me yet? But it was all fine. And then I went round the front, and there was one of my neighbours out the front, and I recognised her, and she was looking at me, and I thought, oh my God, what have I done? Do I need to make an amends to her? Because I was absolutely awful when I was at my mum and dad's. Police there all the time, armed police, door getting kicked in, drug dealers causing up a scene, me causing up a scene. And she looked at me and she didn't recognise me. And she said, are you looking to move into the house at the bottom? I said, no, I'm just here reminiscing. My mum and dad live next door. And she said to me, who was that? And I told her who my mum and dad was. And a little while ago, I told you that I had some children that were adopted out. Well, this woman said to me, oh, isn't it terrible what happened to that family? You know, they're all dead, even little Emma. And I stood there and I thought, I'm not dead. I said to her, I'm Emma, I'm not dead. And she said, yeah, you're dead. And I said, no, I'm not. And we kind of went back and forth for a little while. And she was looking at me and she went, oh my God. And she turned around and said to me, she went, darling, I've got all your photos here. She went, all your photo albums of you when you was kids and all the photos of your mum and dad and their wedding and all that. And I thought this was something that had been lost forever because I was so horrible. And my mum and dad weren't the best of people either, and neither was my dad's brother. And when they died, he went and he threw everything out the house. And it was luckily that a council man see these pictures and asked the neighbour, is there any family? And she took him in. And my mum and dad passed in 2006. And she's had them all these years, but I've never gone back there. And if it weren't for making my step 9, doing my step 9 amends, I wouldn't have gone back there and I would never have known. Do you know what I mean? But my higher power was watching over me and took me back to that place and to make that amends. And I got all them photos and stuff. They're in the bottom of her shed. She's sorting them out for me. I'm still in contact with the woman. And then she turned around and said to me, and 3 years ago, a boy came around here looking for you. And she said the boy's name. And it was only my son. And he would have been 19 then. He'd be 21 now. But yeah, and she said, but I thought you were dead. You know, I told him you were dead. But I just thought to myself, I looked up at the sky and I thought, if there's ever a higher power moment, this is it. This is a God moment. Do you know what I mean? Everything in God's time. So I've now been going for adoption agencies and stuff and doing a little bit of stuff. But then with all that happened, and then I finished my steps and I was going through courts for my 3 youngest children that I just recently lost. And everything came together really quickly. I put step 10 into everything I'd done. Action. I was going to London twice a week to visit my children in a contact centre. I was working now. I had a job. I was being of service. I was doing all the right things that I should be doing. And on the 11th of November this year, social services did not want to give me my children back. Do you know what I mean? It was looking really, really bleak that I was going to get them back. They were really against me having them back. But I got a positive parenting assessment. The guardian was on my side. And when they heard all this, because my children were staying with their aunt and uncle on their dad's side, they had a wobble and they didn't like it. And they said that they were playing games, but it backfired. They said they didn't want to look after the children anymore. And the judge turned around and ordered for the children to come home immediately. And I got my children back on the 11th of November this year. So within a short space of time, within my sobriety date's the 30th of May. And 2021. And within that time, I'd done my steps. I'd put into action. I'd got all the photos of my mum and dad back and me as a baby. I had spiritual awakening. I'd got my children back, which I've now got back with me. I'm in a home. I'm safe. I'm warm. My children are here. I got my children back 6 days before my middle one's 5th birthday, which was amazing because we wasn't even due back in court until May of this year. Everything just happened really quickly. It's like they say in this program, and it's a really, like, some people don't get it, but everything will happen in God's time. When it's right, it will happen. And that's basically how my whole story's panned out. It's like, okay, this is the time you're going to get your children back. Here you go. This is the time you're going to find out this. Here you go. Everything has just happened as it should happen. I'm not saying that it's easy. Staying sober sometimes is hard, but it's so much easier than the life I had before. A few simple suggestions every day, and it keeps you sober. And everything they say in the book, every suggestion that comes to me comes from that book. Working with other alcoholics, passing on the message. I phone newcomers every day. I phone other addicts every day. I read my 2 pages of the book every day. I get down on my knees and I pray every day. I make myself humble. And I'll be of service. If somebody asks me to do something or do a share, or it doesn't matter where it is, if I can get there, then I do it. Do you know what I mean? You go to any lengths, and it really does work. It really does. I can say today that I'm happy, joyous and free instead of irritable, restless and discontent, which I was. And today I have got a life beyond my wildest dreams to how it was 7 months ago. It's just amazing. This program really does work. And I can't express how much gratitude I have for it, and for the people that done the big book and found a solution and passed the message on. And if you're new, life is going to throw crap at you. I'm not saying that my life is running through like flower fields and that at the moment. It's really tough. I've got my children all the time, 24/7 at the moment, because there's no school placements, because obviously I'm in a new area. But it's okay because I have a solution today. I have the tools to deal with life when life gets hard. My friend has just got COVID, so I've had to come off work for a couple of weeks. But it's okay because there's a solution to things. I just get down on my knees and I pray and I hand it over, because whatever's happening at this moment in time is supposed to be happening. That's what I truly believe. I believe whatever's happening right now, here and now, is supposed to be happening. It's for a reason. And sometimes we can't always see what the reason is. But there is a reason. Things do it will materialize and become clear to you if you just stick with it one day at a time. That's why we say 24-hour window. And sometimes, even for me, you know, sometimes I've gone through a minute at a time instead of 24 hours at a time. Sometimes I have to go through a minute at a time, and sometimes I have to get down and I have to pray more than in the morning and the evening. You know, sometimes I have to pray 4, 5, 6 times a day. And sometimes that lie will try and creep up on you, you know, oh, you're well now, you don't need to do as much. But I can tell you now, very quickly, things creep up on you. And if you're not doing all your stuff every day, you've got to do this stuff every day and keep a connection to your higher power and keep your spiritual side really healthy. Because if you don't, that it's waiting there, it's patient, and it's hiding, and it's sitting on your shoulder. And then one day it'll tell you, oh, do you know what? You're actually doing really well. You know, just have a drink, or we can use just once. You're not going to get a habit on it, or it's not going to be that bad this time. I can tell you it really is. And it's not just going to be that bad, it's going to be worse. Yeah, every time you go out there, it gets worse. There is thankfully for me, I've come in this program and relapse isn't part of my story, but I do hear it a lot, and it absolutely frightens the life out of me. That's why I keep doing my stuff all the time, because I can't go back out there. I haven't got it in me. Do you know what I mean? I've not got it in me. I know that. But my mind will tell me sometimes, you know, well, it's all right. Do you know what I mean? We'll just have one drink. It's not going to hurt. No. You can't. I have to talk myself. No, I can't. It's like an argument with the good and the bad. Have you ever seen that, where you've got an angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other? Sometimes that's how I feel I am. But I can promise any newcomers out there, get yourself a big book, get yourself a sponsor armed with the facts, and get through them steps. And there is a much better life out there, a life of just being free. I can put my head down on the pillow tonight and I can go to sleep. Do you know what I mean? Peaceful. My mind's not racing. I can pause before I speak now, instead of just running away with my mouth. You know, if I don't like something I hear, or if someone says something and I need to think about the answer I want to give, I can do that now. All this has come with working the spiritual program and being able to take the cotton wool out my ears and put it in my mouth sometimes and just listen to people. And there's a saying at the beginning of the meetings, you know, listen to the similarities and not the differences, because there is a lot out there. And CA is a wonderful, wonderful group. It's a wonderful program. There's a lot of people out here, and they genuinely just do want to see the best, and they are here to help you. So reach out to people, and like I said, get a big book and a sponsor, and get yourself through these steps. It is so worth it, I promise you. Yeah, I think I'll hand it back to you now, Paul.
Lovely stuff. Thanks so much, Emma. Thank you. I knew it'd be a great message. Yeah, you know, a lot of identification there, and I know that you and I have got a lot of substances in common. You know, and the hopelessness of the malady, you know, how we just put up with the consequences. You mentioned the consequences there of alcoholism, alcohol itself, and how it would make you be, and how the next day you couldn't remember your behavior and your words, you know, but there would be people that were very unhappy about what you'd said and perhaps done the next day. And that's the madness of it. You know, we take mood altered substances, and as soon as we take that first one, we're in an altered state from that moment, right? And then that one wants another one, and then we're in a more altered state. But you and me, that's not good. We ain't going home after 3 hours. The party's just getting going. You know, where's some more? Right, where's the powder? You know, and that's the reality of it. And then we want to use all the time. That's the difference. You know what I mean? And, you know, I've been privileged to know you, and I remember you coming in a meeting and sharing that amazing account of that lady who knew your family, and furthermore, not only knew your family, but had your photos there. She'd been saving them for you, you know, and that's a miracle. That's an absolute miracle, you know, and that's a gift of recovery. I remember you sharing that. I was in the room when you shared that. Was it, what, 3 or 4 months ago, Emma, or something? 4 or 5 months ago?
It was, yeah, about four months ago. It was when I was doing my step 9. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember. And,
Yeah.
you know, I've been privileged to know you for a little while now. And, you know, I get clarity and consistency, you know, and I know I'm privileged to know a few people that have come through a similar sponsorship line that you have, you know. And, you know, the reality is, you know, that if we do these things, we say suggestions, but they're strong suggestions. You know, if you want to stay clean and you do these things, you will stay clean. You know,
Yeah.
if you, as you said, if you commit yourself, step 3 is about devotion. You know, step 1 is transparency, honesty, admission. Step 2 is solution. These are the ways that God will restore me to sanity around addiction. Step 3, I'm devoted and committed to all this stuff in step 2 because of everything in step 1. If I'm committed to my spiritual literature, which by God's grace I am, Emma, every day for an hour a day, my personal spiritual literature, if I'm committed to working with others and step work, if I'm continuing in prayer and usefulness to others, guess what? I will definitely stay sober. But if I'm not, I may well not. You know, and you and me have been in enough meetings to hear people that pick up drink and drugs again, you know, and I've come to understand that the actual picking up of the substances, that's towards the end of the relapse. The relapse began a week or 2 before, you know, when we cut back on, or perhaps several weeks before, when we stopped doing a meeting a day, when we stopped sharing every few days in meetings, when we stopped being accountable to our support network, you know, when we eased off on prayer, when we put those books down, you know, and our books gathered dust, you know, and it's all completely free. And what's on offer is a total transformation. And, you know, my heart went out to you when you shared, you know, because, you know, without getting specific, you know, we do have shared substances in common. And I remember what that lifestyle's like, you know, and we come in these rooms and there is a solution. So any of our listeners listening to this, if you're struggling with drugs and you've landed on this on YouTube or Skype or elsewhere, get involved. Get involved. You know, first we get clean, we get into these steps, we get some literature, we get a sponsor who's knowledgeable, we get a home group, we have 2 conversations with folks in recovery every day. We're committed to step work. We go to meetings regularly. The first few months, very important to try and get to a meeting every day. It's very important to get some same-sex members that are in recovery around you, to be a support network and get involved, you know. And once I get clean, I can't speak for anyone else on the planet, Emma, I am now responsible for my recovery, right? In my opinion, and I'm not a spokesman for CA, let me make that clear. In my opinion, that first one for me was always a choice. It was always a choice, right? Right. Even the second one, and I know some of this is controversial, there was still an element of choice, but the power of choice was drastically reduced with each one. And of course, then, you know, once I start taking a few more, and who knows, you know, I've known that happen, right? And it's been a year before I've got clean again. You know, so this is what we're dealing with, alcoholism. You know, you know, and the book puts it wonderfully. And we've got up on the screen here for our listeners a chapter from a book called Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, this book can be read or listened to completely free 24/7 at aa.org. aa.org. It can also be downloaded as a free app from the Google Play Store. And, you know, we know how recovery works. You know, those suggestions I just trotted off, and I might have missed 1 or 2, Emma, but we know that persons that do those suggestions on a daily basis stay clean.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
I agree. Yeah, I
And
totally
you know,
agree.
it's always a privilege to hear, because I know that, you know, you're in the trenches working with others every day, you know, and that is the solution, to be in the solution. You know, if I'm wondering what's wrong, or if I'm not in the solution, it's because I'm not doing some of those things. yes, you can have some downtime and relax. Of course you can. However, you know, we pack things into the stream of life. I've got to keep the mind and the body busy. You know, I've got to take part in my own recovery. You
Absolutely,
know.
I agree. You know, packing things into your stream of life and positive things. All this stuff is positive. All this stuff is positive. I mean, praying every day, positive. Finding a higher power, positive. Speaking to people every day, positive. Getting into action every day, being of service, all positive stuff. And then it says in the book, in this chapter, actually, it says it where it says, you know, that he didn't, I've lost my page, but it clearly says that, you know, he was doing it and passing the message on. And that's when he realized that the person that had helped most was himself. It may sound a bit selfish, but that it does, it works. You know, you get through these steps and you pass the message on, and you know yourself, not everybody stays. Do you know what I mean? People come and go, but doing that work keeps us sober as well, you know. And if you're really committed to staying sober, then you do your steps and you pass the message on, and before you know it, time's pass by and you think, oh, you know, you could be loads of sponsees along, but you're still sober, which is, yeah, it's just
I
what you're
mean,
doing it.
I mean, we all like to, you know, the joy and the gladness of recovery, but the reality is working with others, right, is not an easy business. You know, I had someone recently that, you know, I mean, look, whether someone's a weekend binge drinker, right, or mugging people and living out of a spoon 6 or 7 times a day, anyone can get clean and stay clean in Cocaine Anonymous. Let me make that clear.
Yeah,
Now, you do come across some people that absolutely have to stay sober. What I mean by that is they're at risk of dying within a couple of months if they pick up again. I mean, you know, now you can never quite say for sure, but there are some people that really, and, you know, having been around a little while now, you know, you can tell. Well, they'll often tell you they've got such serious physical consequences that they have to, you know. And I was working with one such person not that long ago, and they picked up again, but didn't tell me while we're carrying on with the step work. And, you know, that's the reality of it, and they're back at it again. You know, they're back at it again as we speak. You know, and you know, it is a serious business. It's a life or death errand. You know, and I've lost that many people over the years. I had a friend, Emma, 4 years clean, 4 children. She went back out. She was out for a few weeks. She got clean again, came back into recovery, got back into abstinence. 2 or 3 months later, went back out. She was dead within the month. Left 4 children under 10. Right.
yeah.
That's what we're dealing with. You know.
That is the reality of it, and that is exactly my point when I was saying, you know, I don't have it in me. Yeah, I know myself. I don't have it in me to go back out. Do you know what I mean? I won't. I'll be one of these, but I won't come back. Do you know what I mean? I've had the serious health consequences. I mean, when I was out in the madness, I had pneumonia. I nearly died. I was on a life support machine for 10 days. I was really sick. That didn't stop me. Nothing stopped me. All the consequences, the massive consequences I've had through my life, nothing stopped me. And it's because I didn't know what was wrong with me. But that's the great thing about having a sponsor that's armed with the facts. Do you know what I mean? And explaining to you what is what. Now I know I have an illness. Do you know what I mean? And I have a solution. And I intend to put that solution into practice every single day, because I don't have it in me to go back out that door. Do you know what I mean? I won't come back. That is the reality of it. This is life or death. It's not a joke. Do you know what I mean? And that's why we go to these extremes, and we help anybody that needs help.
That's right.
Because we know how it is.
That's right. And there's a lot of help available. You know, you and me are part of a group, and we know of dozens of folks that are available right now to sponsor people. You know, and in a few minutes I'll be putting up a list of Zoom meetings where people can go to that are on every day, and connect with that help and get the help. So if you're listening to this, there's a lot of help available. You know, we're ordinary folks that have got clean, and we stay clean one day at a time. We meet regularly to encourage each other and to carry a message of freedom and hope. So please come along to a meeting. And you know, I was just thinking as you was talking there, Emma, you know, it's such a privilege, but it is a responsibility. And I think, you know, in sponsorship, it's a really broad term. You get people that are like, oh, let's just go through 5, 6, and 7 on one night or in half an hour. You know, that's not how I see it. It's a serious business, and it's a time-consuming business to go through the program properly. You know, and I think as well that when you do that, you're able to explain to people how to employ the program in ordinary living so that it's doable, you know, and not just, how can I put it, an ideology, but something that's practical. You know, sobriety has to be practical. And you know, I've seen people that are just not equipped, you know, and it's really important, I think, to sort of to know what the hell you're talking about, you know, and you know, it's just a wonderful thing, because then they'll go forth and then carry that message to others. You know, and that chapter there that you've had on the screen, how it works, you know, that you asked me to put up, that explains the program. There's another chapter, isn't there, working with others?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, you know, I still get it. You know, I had Sponsee ask me some questions on something when we were going through the steps. And I sat there and I thought, oh, I don't actually know the answer to that, you know, because we can do this stuff. But every time I read part of the book, I see a different point of it. Do you know what I mean? I just, every time I read it, there's something new there. And some of these questions, and I'm humble enough today, you know, my ego doesn't get in the way today, that if I don't know the answer to something, so my first thing was, you know what, I don't know the answer to that, so I'm going to go and check for you, and I'm going to get back to you. Do you know what I mean? So off I went to my sponsor. Do you know what I mean? That if she doesn't know the answer, we'll go to her sponsor. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of them things. We do work around this stuff, and I still make notes today. Do you know what I mean? I'm still making notes today when I go through the book, and I still phone my sponsor and ask questions today, because I don't think I will ever know the answer to everything.
Yes, quite. Oh, absolutely. You know, I think transparency and accountability, you know, are two of the great gifts of the fellowship. You know, we don't just work the program, we work the fellowship, and the fellowship is what continues after the meetings end. You know, and that's the beauty of a support network. And maintaining a support network, like you maintain your sobriety and your spiritual fitness, people drop off. You don't click with everyone. People change fellowships, you know, get relationships and jobs. You know, being proactive about your support network and adding people in it, you know, and I've been privileged recently. I've got one chap that I'm taking through for the second. He's going through for the second time. 3 weeks ago, I completed another chap, second time around. Both of them have stayed clean. So we went through the program from a different perspective. Of course, we talked about addiction. Of course, we did, and powerlessness. But they've solved the drink and drug problem. Here's the thing: they've recovered. You know, they're not. Oh, well, I don't know about. No, it's solved. They've solved the drink and drug problem. They've recovered. Right?
Yeah.
It's a living issue that many of us suffer with, a thinking problem, a maladjustment to life. You know, we come for our drinking, but we stay for our thinking. And, you know, recovery looks today, Emma, like Paul trying to keep an eye on my thought life on every waking moment. That's what it looks like today. I haven't thought of drinking and drugging for years, by grace, yet, you know, and it's keeping an eye on the thought life. That's a challenge. That's a challenge.
Yeah, it's
You know,
it is. It is definitely.
and just because I sound right doesn't mean my thought life's always right.
No, I mean, not to be too thingy, but we're all really sick. Do you know what I mean? Like, addiction is a sick disease. It doesn't just come around, like I said in the share. You know, it's not just around drugs and alcohol. We're trying to constantly run the show. Do you know what I mean? We're self-centered, yeah. Do you know what I mean? We're self-centered, self-obsessed. We try and run the show, and this is when it all goes horribly wrong, when we don't go on God's will. And if I don't let God take control of the situation, like I said, you know, all this COVID stuff and that, and Emma gets involved, yeah, everything goes horribly wrong. I don't need to pick up a drink or drug. Do you know what I mean? But my life can very quickly get very messy. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm trying to run the show with everything. I'm trying to do everything on my will again, and it just doesn't work. I think years and years and years have showed me that. Do you know what I mean? Just I can't get involved. You know, I just have to hand it over, and it's really hard to do that sometimes.
Yes,
do you know what I mean? Because sometimes I want to jump up and down. I'm like, God, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Get down and have a
quite,
pray.
absolutely. I mean, yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think the gift of emotional sobriety, that's the thing where I've got a measure of balance and restraint of pen and tongue and keyboard, right? These are all indicators of where we're at spiritually. You know, I mentioned thoughts and words earlier. You know, I mean, look, spirituality is where it's at, right? Spirituality in general terms is I don't harm myself and I don't harm others in thought, word, or deed. That's really where it's at. You know what I mean? And then if I can be of some help to others, then it's a good day. You know what I mean? And that is it. You know, that's the bridge to normal living. You know,
Yeah,
and when my words start to go south, it's of course because my thought life's gone south. And when my thoughts start to go off, my words go off. And if I'm not careful, my behavior will go off. And then my lifestyle can go off, you know, and that's what happens. That's the order of play. And so
yeah.
it is a challenge. It's a challenge, you know.
It is. It's like you said earlier. You know, the relapse happens way before we pick up a drink or drug. Do you know what I mean? It happens
I
before
mean,
that.
how free do we want to be? I've known people clean and sober, living like a devil, and then they picked up again.
Yeah,
You know, I've known people clean and sober still dealing drugs, right? I've known people clean and sober gambling their life away and their marriage away, right? And they've ended up using again. You know, it is a holistic program and it is about purity of heart, right? And it is about getting your life in order with God.
yeah,
That's the truth. You know, it's
yeah,
much more, you know, no one, as it says in our reading, we don't come in these rooms to find God. We come in broken, disgusted, not to be trusted, you know, with all the horrors, you know, of active addiction, all the carnage, you know, but really it's about, you know, getting people to God and getting them in connection with a higher power to start living right, you know, and that is quite a task, but I've seen it happen time and time again, you know.
yeah. I mean, you know, you just have to look at mine to realize that there's a higher power there, and I can assure you and anyone else, you know, this is not me doing this. It's not like it is partly me because I put the action in every day, but you know, there is definitely a higher power there that's doing the work for me, handing it over to them. Do you know what I mean? Is what's keeping me clean and sober.
That's,
Yeah,
I mean, it's clear, you know, we want, anyone can find recovery, whatever they believe, but the bigger picture is, you know, that there's an unseen force, you know, a creator behind the scenes that's helping anyone. God don't make difficult terms with alcoholics that want to get clean and sober. He don't, you know, and people get help, even though they don't know where the help's coming from, you know. And the beautiful thing is the group sponsors people. The group works as a very, very good higher power. You know, that's why a good home group with a decent message is such a wonderful thing, particularly a regular, because the group does sponsor people. You know, it says that in the literature.
yeah,
Um, you know, and yeah, but you know, and I've seen many people come in who use the group, and then a few months later they begin to realise that there's a creator behind the scenes. You know, an unseen person, an unseen force helping them. I've seen that time and time again. Anyway, I'm waffling once more, Emma. Um, it's been a wonderful thing to share this time with you and to do this broadcast. I just want to give a mention to the meetings, family. There's lots and lots of meetings. This is just a few of the meetings that are available. If you go to those web addresses at the top, you'll get more meetings. If you're in Britain, you'll find out where face-to-face meetings are in that anonymous.org.uk address. So if you look at the top left of the screen, underneath the first pink box, you'll see where it says the Breakfast Club. That is on every morning. These are UK times, 7:30. Underneath that, Great Gratitude every morning, 9:30. Underneath that, Pop-Up Recovery every morning, 10:30. Then the top left-hand corner, the pink box, We Can Recover every day, 2 o'clock. And then to the right of there, We Can Recover every night, 8 p.m. Then on the top right-hand corner, Daily Reprieve every night, 9:30. That'll have just finished. And then underneath that, Reaching Out every night at 11. That starts very shortly. And then every night at midnight, Tazana, and lots of others. But just there is 8 meetings that are on every single day, you know. And you're welcome, all means. Never be put off going to a Zoom meeting thinking you have to put your camera on. Only about a quarter of participants do. You know, nor think you'll have to speak. You know, only about a quarter of folk do. Conversely, if you want to put your camera on, you want to share, you're welcome to, and you don't need to put your camera on to share either. So please come along to a meeting, reach out, and you know, before we wrap things up, is there anything you'd like to share with our listeners, Emma?
No, just the same. You know, if you're new and you're struggling, reach out, go to a meeting, and get some help there. Find yourself a sponsor, get a big book, and there is a life really worth living out here, and you can do it. That's it, Paul. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, family, stay safe, stay strong, and hopefully we'll see you in a meeting soon. Thanks so much, Emma.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, bye-bye.